Hey everyone, this is Jamie, and today I am filming my very first process video for the year 2021, and also the first process video under the new Misc paper brand. So one of the things that I wanted to do when I launched Miscellaneous Paper was to do a series of getting to know you posts and kind of like a personal biography. I'm trying to figure out what I want to call this project, so if you have any ideas, please let me know. But one thing that came to mind was doing a timeline of my life, just kind of chunking the big things together into one overarching layout, and then doing smaller or individual layouts for respective stories from that timeline. So I actually sat down and on my computer and just started typing out some general facts about myself. The year I was born, the year I started kindergarten at my elementary school, which I went to the same elementary school from kindergarten to senior year. So I spent 13 years there. That's obviously a big part of my history. So I wanted to include that. The year that we moved to the house where my parents currently live, the first year I got a job, or the year that I got my first job. And then I wanted to weave in some of the kind of global and national stories that have been part of my life and that have impacted me in some way. So the first that I could remember that I have very conscious memory of is obviously September 11th, which that happened when I was a junior in high school. So I went through and just kind of detailed all of this. And you can see, based on some color coding and the notes that I took here, that everything fell into 7 rough categories. So the houses and moves that I made, education, work, those global and national events I just mentioned, love or my relationship with my husband, deaths that have occurred in my family, and pets were what I came up with to start this page that I have envisioned. I also sketched out like roughly what I thought that I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to have a bunch of photos down here at the bottom, and I knew I wanted the events to be turned on their axis so that they would be read sideways. And I thought that I wanted to include lots of little icons to denote like which was a house move, which was an education move, which was having to do with work. But I didn't end up doing that in the end. And then I also did a little bit of color coding so that you could see those a little bit better. And this, like I said, was just something that I typed out on my computer, printed it out, and then I made some notes in this rough sketch. And from that, in InDesign, I created this timeline. So here are the various items from my timeline. Here are the years, and then I made just a little legend, I guess you could call it, at the bottom, so people would know why the colors were colored the way that they were. I decided that I wanted to do this project in 6x8 format, so I have an album ready for that. But I also decided that I wanted this one to be outside of a 6x8 page protector, so it is sized for 7x8. So I'll be cutting that out. I have my photos printed so that I can just quickly cut these up. So this is going to be one block, this is going to be one block, and then this is going to be cut down the middle. But I made sure to choose photos that would kind of lend themselves to that. It wouldn't be as difficult. And these are just a variety of photos from my life, like a total variety of just going through really quickly and pulling things that coordinated with the timeline. The day I got married, me as a baby, me in elementary school, just various photos throughout my life. I also cut out some die cuts using my Silhouette Cameo, just aptly titling this page timeline. So I'm going to be adding those, and I thought that it would be nice to kind of layer them in just to see a little bit of shadow. And then I think that instead of the icons that I had denoted here in my sketch, what I'm actually going to do is add a strip of pattern paper. So I pulled just some papers from my stash. None of these are whole 12x12 pages. So I will cut them down and add them in here. So that's where I'm starting from.
And that's the point in the video when something went really crazy while I was recording and it switched to slow motion mode. Don't know how or why, but I was able to fix it here while I was editing my video. So what I did was cut down the cardstock backgrounds that I had printed out. I used the cut marks from InDesign to get to the size that I needed. And then I cut the photos down as well and adhered them to the bottom, which was consistent with what I had sketched out. Now I'm adding the pattern paper strips to the middle part there, just because it would have been really empty and pretty boring if I hadn't added some color in between. I chose this pattern paper scrap. I believe it's from Studio Calico from several years ago. Again, I just pulled these straight from my scrap bin. I really just loved all of the color, and I liked that there was lots of warm colors to kind of balance out all of the kind of colder black and white photos that I used. But there was also some gray, and then on the opposite side, on the B side of that pattern paper, is some blue that I utilize here in a bit. But I added the title that I had die cut out using my Cameo, and I adhered it to the right hand side of my album. And I took it away from my desk and did just a couple lines of stitching to add some texture. And now I'm adding the 6 hole punches to it to make sure that it will fit into my album. I'm using a Felicity Jane album for this. It's 6 by 8 sized and just really cute. I love a good black and white pattern. She's fantastic about that. So I was excited to put this one to use. I actually purchased it probably over a year ago and hadn't put anything in it. So it was waiting for this project. I'm adding some final embellishing to my page. I've decided to add some just cute enamel hearts and in 3 places around the layout, and to kind of anchor them to the page and so that they weren't just floating off into space. I hole punched using a 1 1/4 inch circle punch. Um, and again, using the B side of that same pattern paper because it has this great blue and white pattern on it. I punched 3 different circles, and now I've adhered the 3 different size hearts. I believe those are from Illustrated Faith. And I felt like they needed just one extra element, so I went back through my enamel dot stash and am adding a red heart, just as extra embellishment. I really appreciate you watching. Thank you so much.